welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it that second chance might just sway your mind.
Here, we take that chance for you, and let you know our opinion on if a show is worth more than just one shot.
I'm Justice, alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be Gunpowder. Gunpowder is a show about the Gunpowder treason plot, and it is produced by...
Hold on. I think you're vastly overestimating the American knowledge of what the Gunpowder treason plot was.
I mean, I thought we'd explain that a bit in the episode. I was just going to explain the whole Kit Harington tie.
Okay, so a rundown real fast. The Gunpowder treason plot, most Americans know it because of the movie V for Vendetta.
Or if you're cool, the graphic novel V for Vendetta.
And it was a attempt in 1605 to blow up Parliament and murder the King of England, King James I at the time, and the Sixth. And it didn't go so well.
Yeah. So the show is partially produced and created by Kit Harington, also known as Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. And oddly, Kit Harington is both a descendant of one of the planners of the Gunpowder treason plot, Robert Catesby, and is apparently also a descendant of one of the nobles individuals that would have been in the Parliament had it succeeded in their blowing up attempt, Lord Harrington.
Wild.
Right?
Is that one side of his family?
I did not look that far into it.
Somehow
but weird,
a Catesby ended up marrying a Harrington
I have no idea, but just odd.
Before we get into the review, I just want to let you know that this is actually a holiday spectacular special episode. We are celebrating with our English listeners Guy Fawkes Day, also known as Bonfire Night.
Yep. Do we really know a lot about the holiday? No. Do we like it more than Thanksgiving? Inherently, yes. I don't have to spend this holiday with my family.
I mean, from a historical perspective, I don't know. Well, yeah, I do. Thanksgiving's worse. Never mind.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's worse. This is just a bunch of Christians fighting each other. Thanksgiving was a bunch of Christians, taking over native lands and then persecuting them for centuries afterwards.
So the Gunpowder plot is, in the modern day, not really remembered as what it was. It's remembered as a group of individuals trying to overthrow their government, but
which I think we can all kind of get behind.
But it's actually a deeply ingrained fight between Catholicism and Protestantism in early 17th century England.
Yeah.
And it's really weird that Guy Fawkes is the only person people remember from that.
When he wasn't even the mastermind behind it. He was just the guy who knew how to do explosives and thus was caught because he was the guy by the explosives.
And based on this show, the most murdery of all the individuals. He was
he was a Spanish mercenary.
We have a problem. Let me stab it.
Yeah.
Which is actually my favorite attitude for solving problems.
Oh, so you're the murder hobo in the D&D party.
No, not normally. I am the guy that after we do murder hobo somebody, I'm like, hey, we could use his intestines to make a rope.
And I'm the guy that's like, that body weighs down traps.
But I'm not a murder hobo. I just happen to think holistically about the murdered individuals.
I use every part of the dirt farmer.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, Gunpowder, episode 1.
I just want to say, before we fully dive into it, first, this show's from 2017. It's by HBO. I know it's on HBO Max for free, and I think it might be on Amazon Prime for free as well.
It's places.
But I want to say before we dive into it, I really appreciate the pacing of this show.
The pacing of the show is fantastic. And there are a few times when it does a cut back and forth where we don't necessarily need one, which, as you will learn probably on our next full review, is something we hate. However, this does it at appropriate times when you're building suspension tension and not just because we can.
The pacing of the show is so good that me, world-renowned for having a very shitty memory... Yeah, world-renowned. I have a friend in India and Australia.
Also, our downloads show we have listeners all over the world.
So yeah, world-renowned for having
not necessarily a fuck ton of listeners, but listeners everywhere.
World-renowned for having a shitty memory. I don't need notes for episode 1.
Odd, right?
Wild. Let's get into episode 1.
So episode 1, we start with a Catholic ritual.
Funeral. No, we start with a funeral.
Oh, yeah.
Queen Elizabeth I is dead.
Yeah, we open with some white text intros and some pretty pictures in the background.
King James VI of Scotland, or Ireland, I'm not actually for sure.
I think it's Scotland.
I don't remember.
Pretty sure he's Scottish.
Yeah, King James VI of Scotland is now King James I of England, And
he's had a very long conflict with the very heavily Catholic Spain at this time, but is looking to make a treaty with them.
The show describes it as a generation-long conflict.
Yeah, but he's looking to make a treaty with Spain. However, he is still persecuting the Catholics in England.
Yeah, Catholicism's illegal, having Mass is illegal, not going to church is illegal.
Protestant church?
Yeah, you can go to Catholic church if you want, you just can't be a Catholic. I thought it was obvious I meant Protestant church, Justice.
Yeah.
The only church that we should identify is the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. May he be kind with his pasta sauce.
Never forgetting.
I know nothing about the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I want to make that clear right now.
Yeah.
It just...
If you haven't noticed by this point, which you probably should have, we're not big on organized religions.
Very irreverent.
Yeah. Anyways, though, so we get that little background about just what's happening at that time in England, and then we are pushed into a scene of a Catholic, I guess, mass inside of a home. Mass is a strong
communion.
word. A Catholic communion, thank you. And in this scene we have...
It's one of those weird-ass religious ceremonies where you pretend that you're, like, cannibalizing people and drinking blood.
Drinking blood would still be cannibalistic.
Yes.
So we have 3 fathers in this scene. Robert Catesby, and he's not a father.
I mean, he is a father.
Yes. We have 3 religious fathers, 3 priests of Catholicism. Robert Catesby, Anne Vaux, his cousin, and Anne Vaux's mother, Dorothy...
I would assume Vaux? Dorothy Vaux?
No. It was Dibdale. Dorothy Dibdale, because I made a Doug Dimmadome reference. Doug Dimsdale reference. It was Dorothy Dibdale of the Dibsdale Dimmadome. That was my joke.
So actually, we should clarify. We had 4 fathers in this scene, one of which was just not... They had a child, rather than being...
Yes. So they're doing their whole communion thing, praying in Latin, receiving the body of Christ and the blood of Christ. And then we see a bunch of inquisitors riding up on this very large building.
Technically, they're not inquisitors.
They're inquisitors.
But, yeah, they're inquisitors. The English Inquisition. Nobody expects it.
And so we cut back to the room with our Catholic peeps. And a servant comes in to inform the lady of the house, Dorothy Dibsdale, owner of the Dibsdale Dimmadome, that Sir William Wade is here, and he's apparently, like, the head inquisitor.
Yeah, he works for the Secretary of State, as the Secretary of State has made it his job to murder all the Catholics.
Yeah.
Even though that's not his instructions from the king or his job, and in fact, according to King James at this point, it's not illegal to be Catholic so much as it's illegal to be a priest in the Catholic faith.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they hide all of their Catholic...
I mean, it's still illegal not to go to church, so if you went to your Protestant church but were secretly a Catholic, King James is like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like...
So they hide all their Catholic symbology and iconography, and also hide the priests. We have the youngest one, which we had just learned before we got here, that he is being sent to Flanders to talk to a Stanley, generally just about the whole Catholic oppression. He's given a letter by apparently this really important priest, Father Garnet, and the letter is just like a letter of introduction and equivocally passive for anyone that's like, hey, I'm really Catholic. It's like a, hey, let me crash at your place for free kind of card.
And if anybody has no idea where Flanders is, somewhere in England.
Yep.
In the county of Brussels. It doesn't help me figure out where it's at all, but maybe you know England better than I do.
Yeah. So our young priest, the one who received the letter, Father Daniel Smith, hides in a area underneath a window seat. You know, there's really nice like cabinet things and storage systems we have now. Apparently they just didn't exist, so it's a really good hiding spot.
Nobody's gonna look in that obvious window seat with a trunk.
Yeah, I don't know why you have that box just built out, but apparently it's solid wood. And then the other 2 fathers hide in a secret compartment inside of the wall, and this wall has like a bunch of wooden mosaic tiles on it.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but apparently the Inquisitors just think it's solid, like...
Exactly, no, that's my point. Like, it's dumb. So, Wade is pounding on the door, insisting he be let in, as they're hiding all their stuff. And eventually, Robert Catesby, or Robin, as his maternal
Family
figure calls him.
Yeah, well, like, everybody calls him Robin.
Yeah. Lets
probably
him in.
Probably because there's 4 Roberts in this show.
Yeah, so he lets him in, and the guy immediately draws a sword and points at him. He's just like, what took so long? Blah, 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 blah. And begins to ask where all the papists are.
Papist is a word that means Catholic.
Yep.
The more you know. Just to give you a rundown of the Roberts in the show, we have Robert Catesby.
Robert Catesby Jr.
Robert Catesby Jr.
Or the second, I guess, because we're being British.
Robert Cecil.
Yep.
The Secretary of State, the leader of the Inquisition.
Indeed.
And there's another Robert involved in the Gunpowder plot, Robert Wintour, the brother-in-law of Robert Catesby.
Yes. So Wade essentially tells Dorothy that I'm gonna find the priest. You can't hide him from me.
Also, there's a Robert Keyes. I forgot that one. That's 5 Roberts.
Yeah. So Wade's just like, I'm gonna find the priest. You can't hide them from me. So he tells those men to go check the beds, which Dorothy had the foresight to tell her servants to turn the beds that the priest had slept in upside down, so the warm side was on the bottom, so the top would feel cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the, casual, classic police search, by which I mean disregarding any and all private possessions, just knocking them to the floor, even though, that's just a cup. They're clearly not hiding in a cup. But what if this cup was on the floor?
No, they are clearly hiding the priest in the cup. Also, it should be noted that this scene takes place insanely early in the morning. The sun hasn't fully risen yet.
Yeah, so when Wade asks, why did it take so long? She's just like, you expect 2 ladies to be, prepared for guests this early in the morning? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Highly inappropriate, sir. Highly inappropriate.
Yeah, so they're finding nothing, and it looks like they're all in the clear, but then we see some guys outside with a measuring rod.
Dude,
measuring the width of every wall.
So when the Inquisitors show up, like I said, it's like a gray dawning morning still.
Yes.
There's no full sun, but by the time they're measuring this house, it's 9-10 in the morning. The sun is up in the sky. This isn't just we think you're harboring illegal people, we're gonna search your house. This is, we're gonna take up your entire morning and make you stand here while we search everything.
Yes. When Wade comes in, he says, talk to all their servants. I want all of their names. I want to know where they're from,
the parish they were born in, how long they've been serving Lady Dorothy.
Yeah. So they're measuring the outside.
They did say her name.
Yeah. So they're measuring all of the outside to get a base idea of how large each room should be. Then they come in and measure the room that they're currently in, and they're just the room and the outside don't match up.
Which, that sounds normal to me.
Yeah,
it feels like you would lose space between outside and inside.
Especially because this is a very large structure that appears to be very solid block building.
Yeah, it just feels like you lose space going outside to inside.
Unless they've done the maths to figure out, the block is this far back.
But how do you know I don't have a second block behind that?
I don't know. I'm assuming they're measuring, in the doorway to see, how wide a block is, and then subtracting that and just being okay,
well,
so...
No, my doorway
blah, blah, blah.
only have 1 block, but, the rest of my walls are double blocked.
Yeah, that's just your fault for being weird. You're gonna get so much hassle for it. You shouldn't care that much about insulation.
It's so stupid.
So once
this is 100% how things worked back then.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
We have measuring rods nowadays. They have actual measurements on them. But, measuring rods basically did start out back then. It was just, a stick you used to measure distances.
Yeah.
So it's a thing they would have done.
It's just stupid.
Yes.
But then again, when have the police not been stupid?
Yeah, so
ACAB, am I right? Also, they're not actually police, but I feel like this is so proto-police that it's obviously proto-police.
Yeah, so Sir William Wade begins to inspect the walls more, because before he was already looking at them. But now he's looking around, really into it. And as he's getting close to finding the 2 fathers hidden in a tiny little wall closet together, we get a cut between them and the other one to build the gentian, so we're looking out through this gap at him. And our young father, Daniel Smith, drops something he's holding, I assume some iconography that I just didn't pay attention to when he hid.
I don't know, it was a silver ball made of metal. I have no idea what that was supposed to be.
So it makes a clatter, and they immediately run over to the bench sheet, knock off all of the blankets and pillows, lift the lid because wow, that's a really convenient place to put stuff. And there's a full-grown person there. Do you know how much stuff you could just store in there? It's so convenient. You could store another person in there.
Oh no, I know what the silver ball is. It's a censure.
Oh, it could be a censor, yeah.
It's a censure. That's the pronunciation.
I don't give a fuck.
They're used to make smelly stuff go places.
And they're normally attached to a chain?
Typically, yeah.
They're weird.
It had a chain on it.
Yeah, no, they're weird.
So yeah, that was definitely a censure.
Also, it'd have to suck to be the person who carries one of those, because they were occasionally carried. Think about it. If you can't stand the smell you're having to carry around all fucking day.
I've just never seen a censure outside of D&D art or Magic the Gathering cards.
Or hanging from a post in art. Yeah, I've never... Yeah, you're right.
That's so wild. I just
So he pulls the father out and then sees the note, pulls the note out and just
before we get to the note, we should mention the other 2 fathers' names. the two fathers hiding together in the wall closet thing.
Our Father Garnet, who I did mention the name of.
Our Father Henry Garnet and Father John Gerard.
Yes. So he pulls out Father Daniel Smith, and he's just like, who are you? The guy answers. And then he finds the letter, pulls it out, and he's like, where'd you get this from? And
I don't know who. He's like, who gave you this letter? I don't know. I don't remember. And I'm like, dude, that's going to hold up about as well as I have no hands.
Yeah, like, Father Garnet even said he signed it. So Wade's looking up this thing. It's just like, Henry Garnet.
Should I explain the I have no hands? Or...
Nah, it's good. If they don't know it, that's their fault.
I'm going to find the link to that and put that in the show notes.
Do it. I should have it bookmarked somewhere.
It's so easy to find. I don't have first-hand or second-hand knowledge. In fact, I have no hands.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get away with that, am I?
So Wade goes to grab Robert Catesby, or Robin Catesby, and then up steps and Dorothy Dibsdale, and she's like, I'm responsible for all individuals in this house. These two knew nothing of it.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention when William Wade came into the room, he had a sword drawn and pointed at
I said that.
Catesby. That's not what I'm saying. You didn't say.
Okay.
But his second in command took Catesby's sword because apparently Catesby has a reputation as a great swordsman.
Yes.
So they disarmed him as soon as they came in the room because, again, they're cops.
Yeah. Also during this scene, Sir Wade implies that Anvo, the cousin, just sleeps with all the priests that come through this area.
Which shows a distinct lack of knowledge about, like, the Catholic priesthood and a distinct lack of knowledge about little boys. Because Anvo is not a small child.
Maybe that's why Robert Cecil doesn't like the Catholics. We never get his backstory.
I mean, his backstory exists. You could Google it.
I don't believe so.
He's not a TV character.
He's a fictional character.
Okay, well.
So when Dorothy steps up, animates it, Wade tells his men to take her. And then Robert's just like, that's not how this is done. The women are never taken. And Wade is just like, by writ of the king, I have the power to basically do whatever the fuck I want.
He's like, yeah, by writ of, he says...
He doesn't say writ of the king, but it's equivocally that.
No, he specifically says the danger of Catholicism has reached such a point that the old rules no longer apply or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, fuck you, I can do what I want.
So Robert goes to, like, fight him, it seems, and then Dorothy's just like, no, I'll go with them.
Robert goes to fight him. He's like, you have to go through me. And Wade's like, okay, but I have 6 dudes with swords.
Okay,
and one of them took your sword.
Yeah. And then Dorothy's just like, no, I'll go. So Wade and his men take Dorothy and Father Smith.
Yes. From here
we see Wade talking with Cecil.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And Robert Cecil, is like, so, have you got the information from this priest that you took?
Well, his first question, because we don't have that yet,
yeah, is
like, so did you get Robert Catesby? And he's like, no, his aunt claimed.
Yeah. And he's like, well, have you got any information from the priest yet? Are you torturing him? And he's like, we've done the kind tortures.
Yeah.
The nicer ones.
And so Cecil's just like, well, do the other ones.
And he's like, we're going to stretch him on the rack, sir.
Yeah. We need to know more about where Henry Garnet is. He is the head of this rebellion here within England. And Stanley is the head outside in Flanders, which is the man that Garnet was sending Smith to.
Mm-hmm. And then from here, we jump to King James. No, we go to the execution?
We go to the execution.
Yeah, okay. We go to the execution. We don't go to King James yet. We go to the execution where they flatten Dorothy.
Yeah, so there's this fun form of torture/execution called pressing, or crushing, depending on your terminology, or there's also a French term for it that's dumb.
You just described all of the French terms.
Yes, I did. So first,
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I dislike the French language. I learned a portion of it and have thus forgotten it because I dislike its grammatical structures. So she is asked if she will pray with their priest, and she says, no, I will not pray with you, and you will not pray with me. And then they ask her if she will plead guilty to her crimes, and she also again says no.
I won't plead guilty because then you'll use that as a reason to demonize my heir, my daughter, and strip her of her property and titles, because if I plead guilty, my family is guilty, because that's how a lot of countries functioned in this time period.
So at that time period, crushing was a way, generally, if someone refused to plead guilty to a crime, they would put an iron plate over them and then add weights, slowly. Generally, this was a process of days that would take forever to crush someone. And during this time, they would kind of just check in with the person like, hey, do you plead guilty yet? If you plead guilty, we'll end it very, very fast.
But the executioner in this is very impatient, and instead of setting the weights gently on the steel plate to control the crushing weight that going on the steel plate, this dude is just like chucking the weights on. He's like, oh, I got a 20-pounder right here.
Yeah. And she is, in this process, she is stripped down, laid on top of a small stone that is placed in, like, the middle of her back. That way it applies pressure very uncomfortably. Yeah. And it's part of the way someone dies. Like, it's either going to crush their ribs and puncture their lungs, but it can also, in the fun case, separate the spinal column.
Oh, that sounds way more painful.
Yeah. I am a fan of torture methods. They're just a thing I find intriguing because human beings are terrifying. And the ways we've come up to hurt each other and kill each other is just fascinating in my mind, so I know way too much about this topic.
You shouldn't be admitting this.
I will admit it
okay.
proudly if I want.
Okay.
So they crush her, and she dies, refusing to plead guilty.
I think without the rock under your back...
It's not nearly that bad.
And, like, if I could get a pillow to put under my head...
It's a very nice weighted blanket.
Like... I don't want to say that there's a good way to die, but, like, if you could do this slowly and gently and not throw the weights on me and I could just have a pillow, yeah, this could be an okay way to die. Just, like, slowly...
Yes. I mean, it's definitely better than how they now proceed to kill Father Smith.
Oh, yeah, that's 100... You're 100% true. So first, they hang him.
Yes, it's a classical lynching. They pull him up to where he's struggling to breathe, but not passed out quite yet.
When we first watched this, I was like, that's not how you hang a man.
Oh, did you not know what they were doing?
I didn't realize they were hanging, drawing, and quartering.
Yeah, baby, that's what you do.
I was like, that's not how you hang a man. It's really inefficient to just have two guys pull on this rope while he struggles there.
Is it weird if I knew, just given the time period and the way the fucking
no, it's
execution
not.
platform was set up?
It's you. It's not weird at all. It would be weird if you didn't know.
Yeah. So once they hang him for a bit, they lay him down, then tie his arms and feet down in a very Christ-like pose.
No, they don't tie him down yet. They hang him. They drop him on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And then the dude takes a hot knife out of a
they do that first.
brazier and sticks it in his stomach and makes a little cut and then proceeds to pull all of his intestines out.
Yes.
Not all of his intestines because he doesn't pull miles of intestines out, but...
He pulls handfuls out and drops them. And then they stretch him out in a very Christ-like pose.
And then they axe off his arm, and axe off his head.
And then they take his head, dip it in tar to stop the bleeding, and that way they can then, put it up to show people that this is what happens when you're a priest.
This is what happens when you worship the same God as us and believe almost every single one of the same sentiments as us, but you do it in Latin instead of in English.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the difference between Protestantism and Catholicism. As far as I'm aware, I mean, I know there's some other stuff with like Martin Luther and whatever.
But it's all the same thing, man.
I mean, to me, Islam and Catholicism are pretty much the same thing.
I mean, Judaism is very, very close to you, man. Like, all three of those. The three major religions are so fucking close. I don't understand the conflict around it. But I'm not a religion guy, so I don't want to get into the topic of what the main three religions of the world shouldn't fight, because apparently they disagree they should fight, so whatever.
It's just wild to me, like...
Yeah.
They're fighting over the smallest of details. I made a joke while we were watching this, and it was a joke in very poor taste, I will admit it. But I turned to Justice and I was like, so this is what happens when you have no black people to subjugate. You just subjugate them based on the tiniest differences in your religious beliefs.
But I mean, that is what the history of humanity has done.
The back half of that joke wasn't said, it was implied.
Yeah, we live in a fucked up world and people are fucked up, so. But then we move on to Cecil talking to King James.
Yes. And in this scene, Cecil's like, we murdered them. She never pled guilty. But here's the thing. King James. You have to take the threat of Catholicism seriously. It's growing. They're building unrest and civil unrest in Flanders, which is in a part of England. I don't know where it's at, said Cecil. It's somewhere south of here, maybe.
Yep.
It's closer to Spain than it is to London. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
England's an island. It's closer to Spain than London is what I meant to say.
And King James' response is basically, keep finding their priests, keep hanging their priests, but you don't need to harass my Catholic subjects. You leave them alone, they'll be loyal, they'll do the religion in quiet, it's all good, don't harass my people. That'll cause more unrest.
Oh no, I specifically he's like, don't hunt down the priests, but if you find one, do your thing. However, don't harass my Catholic subjects. They're just loyal and pious. That's it. If you don't harass them, they're going to stay loyal to the crown. If you continue to harass them, they're going to go and support Spain because you're murdering them.
Yes. In this scene, though, we also do get a fictional character,
Philip,
who is put in here to...
Sir Philip. He's a knight.
Yes, he is equivalent to the King's Jester. This entire scene takes place in the King's bedroom, where he just has a bevy of attendants. Apparently, they seem to be noble Scottishmen, because one of the people we see here is Lord Northumberland, who is a large proponent of, don't kill Catholics.
Oh, Lord Northumberland, we later learn, has people in his house and in his service who are Catholics, and he's just like, look, guys, they're just as good at working as the rest of the people. Why do we need to kill them? You're killing labor.
Yeah. So in the scene just before the whole Cecil and James talking starts, we see King James like kiss Philip on the cheek and say he's amazing because he can juggle. And this is all to do with a thing that came out about King James about 100-ish years after he died.
There is a lot of evidence in history to suggest that King James was a power bottom.
Yes, despite the fact that he passed many, many laws against sodomy.
Yes.
Just a fun fact, Philip is technically a key character. Just very briefly, we don't actually deal with him a lot, but he is technically key to this.
I just love the idea that this guy gained power and was like, you know what's illegal? You know what we're going to make illegal? Anal sex. Doesn't matter if you're a straight man and a straight woman. If you're two guys, anal sex is illegal. But me, I'm going to have anal sex. I'm king. I'm God incarnate on earth. I can have anal sex if I want to.
He just wasn't confident in his ability to pick up men, so he just made it where he was the only option where you could do it and not get killed.
That's hilarious. Like, that's... But at the same time, wouldn't it be, like, terrifying then? Because you're like, if I ever piss him off or, like, ever upset him, he could just be like, I have evidence that this man has committed sodomy?
No. Because generally, even if you're a king, especially in a heavy religious time, and you pass a law that's tied to a religion like that, kings were often still punished for those crimes, maybe not as severely, but he wouldn't reveal it. He could just claim anything and have you killed, but kings can do that anyways. That's fair. If you pissed him off, no matter what, he's gonna fucking murder you, so what's the fucking matter?
That's fair.
So from here, we then see Robert Catesby at night gathering the body parts of Smith, the head and arms, and then he takes it to a little bonfire. Probably an insensitive term to use, seeing as they are cremating these remains and having a little religious...
It's a funeral ceremony for Dorothy and for... Father
Smith's arms and
Daniel
head.
Smith. Yeah, Daniel Smith. I wanted to call him the other father, Gerard, but...
Yeah. So in this scene, after that's all done, Catesby is just like, we need to strike back, basically. And Father Garnet's just like, no, we shouldn't resort to violence. That's not the way we do things.
And Father Garnet's like, not only do we not need to strike back, but that's always your solution. Your solution is always,
What if I stab them?
They wronged us. We should kill them. We should... Yeah, they wronged us. We should kill them. And then Father Garnet's like, Jesus said to turn the other cheek, and then Catesby's like, no, the king is doing that. That's not our thing. That's the king's thing.
Yeah. And then from there, we see Sir William Wade headed into the Tower of London to recruit a spy. He has come here to release Captain Turner. Not that Captain Turner.
Bill Turner.
Not that Captain Turner. That Turner wasn't a captain at all. Anyways.
He was a first mate.
Yes, but to release a Captain Turner that he will
William Turner?
No.
I don't know if he was ever captain either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
He's captain of the fucking Dutchman.
He was... No, William Turner. Will Turner? Orlando Bloom's captain of the Dutchman at some point?
Yes!
Shit.
At the end of Pirates 3. No, Pirates 2 is the one with fucking Davy Jones.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
At the end of that. Because he's dying, so Jack gives him the knife and the box and he cuts his heart out. And the entire end scene is just him on the fucking beach with, whatever her fucking name is.
With a jar of sand?
No.
A jar of dirt, sorry. I've got a jar.
No. But, yeah, he's fucking Captain of the Flying Dutchman, man.
The Jar of Dirt, Stranger Tides, right? That's the fourth movie?
I think so.
Where Captain Jack Sparrow has a jar of dirt?
I think so, man. I don't know. I'm not a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan.
That's just one of my favorite memes of all time, ever.
But, so he goes to recruit Captain Turner, and he's sending this guy in the place of Father Smith, because he has the letter, to Flanders to meet with Stanley, who has a first name, but I never noted it down, so he's just Stanley. I'm not even sure if he's a sir. Sending him to meet with Stanley in Flanders to infiltrate the religious group there that is against the whole Protestant thing. And when he's talking... turns out Turner is in the tower because, as he put it, he got an altercation with a guy over a woman.
His honor was besmirched due to a woman, and he had to defend his honor and demand satisfaction.
He stabbed an innkeep in the eye after he laid hands on the innkeep's wife. We don't know what laid hands means in this situation, whether he had sex with her,
to be fair,
sexually assaulted her, physically assaulted her, but...
Nothing Captain Turner said was a lie.
True. So he stabbed the innkeeper in the face.
Although demand satisfaction typically means
retribution. Duel, yeah.
And in this case, demand satisfaction meant, I'm going to break my glass and stab you in the eye with it.
We don't know if it was glass, but it's highly likely.
Which is just wild. So
Turner, to get out of the tower, is just like, I'll do anything. My life is in your hands. And Cecil's just like, your life is mine. I'm going to send you here. Here's this cipher that you're going to use.
Well, it should be mentioned that he also chose Captain Turner because Captain Turner's family
is Catholic, and Turner was like, I don't fucking know what my family's been up to. I've been trapped here for 12 fucking years.
And to be fair, valid point. If you've been trapped in the Tower of London for 12 years, you probably don't know what your family's been up to.
Waiting for death because he is to be killed.
What makes that take so long in that time period? I know
They were too busy killing Catholics.
in the 2000s and the 21st century, it's all the same thing. I know in the 21st century what takes so long is, law, because innocent people are put to death. But I don't know if that's a big of an issue.
He just got put in there and people forgot he was in there. Like, classic hole in the legal system, man. He just fell through it.
He fell through the cracks in the legal system?
Yeah. So he gets sent off to do that with instructions of how to write in the cipher and a little thing of invisible ink.
And he's given the number 32 as his code name, and Cecil is number 1, or is Wade number 1? I don't remember.
Cecil. He's repeating directly to Cecil.
Yep, Cecil. Yep, Cecil. I don't know why I keep calling him Cecil.
I don't know. Most people pronounce the name Cecil, but I don't know. My brain just says Cecil.
I'm glad I'm not the only
Probably because
one.
I've known an actual Cecil in life.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so. Anyways, though, we then go to Robert Gatsby's place, which is rather empty and soon to be emptier because he is selling things.
So I mentioned earlier that not going to church is illegal. You have to go to church, your Protestant church. And Gatsby isn't Protestant, so he's like,
Nah, man.
nah, not doing that. So he gets fined repeatedly because he's not going to church. Now, I'm not a man of strong religious moral.
But if it's cost me a lot of money, I can sit in a fucking room for a while on the weekend.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe he feels like that would be compromising his faith in Catholicism. It doesn't compromise my faith in any way, but if somebody was like, hey, if you... Actually, I have a job that works me 7 days a week most weeks. But if somebody was like, hey, if you, assuming that you're off work, don't come to church, we're going to make you pay us $500, I'd be like, yeah, cool, I'll see you in church.
Yeah, but anyways, in this scene...
Are we doing the tiny little, like, biscuits and small cups of wine? Because I really want to be there for that one.
Yeah. So in this scene, we see his, assumedly, brother-in-law, Tom Winter, patching up his son, Robert Gatsby's son, Robert.
Yeah, Thomas Winter and Robert Winter both are...
brother-in-laws to Robert Gatsby.
Are both brother-in-laws to Robin Gatsby, yeah.
So he's patching him up, and Robert's mother's just like, I don't know why you let him get in a fight with those bullies. And Robin's just like, kid's gotta learn to stand up for himself.
Yeah, Robin's like, look, he can get in a fight with this bully. I gotta go to court tomorrow because they keep stealing my stuff because I won't go to their stupid church.
Yeah, so his son's like, oh, you're selling shit? And his dad's like, yeah, I gotta stand up for my beliefs. His son doesn't look at him, so his son's grandmother's just like, look at your dad. His son looks at him. Then his son and Tom leave, and Robin turns to his mother, and he's like, my son's scared of me. She's like, as he should be. All sons should fear their father. It teaches them better to fear and love the Lord.
This is such a Puritan viewpoint.
Yeah.
I will say my entire knowledge of the Puritan religion is based on Quakers and
Dr. Jonathan Kellogg.
Dr. Jonathan Kellogg and the Scarlet Letter. So as little as I know about Catholicism and Protestantism...
And murdering Native Americans.
I know even less about Puritanism. Puritanism,
yeah, something like that. Puritanical beliefs.
Puritanical belief, yeah.
So from there, we go to a public court, which we start with by seeing that a woman is giving 50 lashes because in an argument...
Not lashes. 50...
It was 50 lashes by fist.
It didn't say lashes.
Pretty sure they did. She's gonna get hit 50 times.
Yeah, and her son's gonna get punched 20 times.
Yeah. And she's getting hit 50 times because she got in an argument and was just like, the Spaniards are gonna come, they're gonna kill the king in the name of God.
Well, the way it's portrayed, it wasn't even an argument. The way it's portrayed in this, like...
Is that she just erupted suddenly in this tavern, like...
She's just sitting in this tavern, and she's like, the Spanish are gonna come, and, like, she's not talking to anybody. She's just talking out loud in the bar. She's like, the Spanish are gonna come, and it can't come soon enough because this country needs the holy light of the Spanish Empire.
And the one true God, and they're going to kill the king, and things are going to be great. And so then they're like, what's the witness say? And the witness is like, I heard exactly what that guy read from that book right there. Yep.
Whatever that dude said, I heard that.
Yeah, and then her son is being hit 20 times because he stole a loaf of bread.
Not even a loaf. He stole...
Like a slice of bread, a piece of bread.
Enough bread that it was worth 10 pennies. I don't know how much bread that is in 1603. Actually, this might be 1604 at this point.
Yeah, he stole bread, he's going to get hit. And then we pull out Robert Gatsby, or Robin Gatsby, Tom Winter, other people.
Yeah, a bunch of other people.
Who haven't gone to church in a while.
None of the other people in the scene end up being conspirators. I know because as they were announcing their names, I was like on the Wikipedia being like, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah. So in this scene, we learn that, everyone's getting fined because they haven't gone to church, and that Robin Gatsby and Tom Winter have not gone to church in 40 weeks.
Yeah.
So the crowd gasped because scandal. And Robin Gatsby's just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Let's just get through this. Because the guy's like blathering on and, beating around the bush. And she's like, cut the bullshit. We know why this is happening. Whatever. Tell me what I have to pay. And so they say the fines. It's like 8 and 13, whatever monetary value it is, and 13 for Gatsby, 8 for Winter. And Tom is just like, jeez, that's outrageous. That's not at all what it is. And again, the judges are like, so by writ of the king, we can do whatever we want.
So it is outrageous. I just did some number crunching via the internet. Thank you to the University of Wyoming for providing this calculator. But £5 sterling.
Yes.
In 1605.
Oh, sorry. Tom Winter's fine was £5 sterling.
They both get fined £5 sterling.
Oh, yeah, 5 additional on top of what it was.
But
at the end,
Robert already owed 8, and Thomas already owed 3.
So it does end up being 13 and 8.
Yeah.
By the end of this trial.
So £5 sterling is, in today money, how much do you think? If you had to guess.
20,000 and 20,000, and then so roughly
$1,569. You're way off, but that's still a wild amount.
That's the top end of I didn't wear my seatbelt ticket.
Which means Robin owes $4,081 right now, just because he hasn't been to church.
Yeah. So
wild.
So Robert explodes about how this is bullshit. The only person who really has the rights to judge him is God. He won't bow to the king. The king is just a man. Blah 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 blah. Judges erupt and throw them in jail.
Throw them in jail specifically until their fines are paid.
Yes, because their fines are in arrears.
And because their fines are ridiculously high and yeah.
So right after this scene, we see Robin's cousin, Anne Vo, approach the main judge. And she has the money and she's like, here you go, you can let them go now. And he's like, but maybe not. We're thinking about charging them with contempt.
Well, not contempt, sedition.
No, he says contempt.
Oh.
Contempt of court.
I thought he said sedation.
It's contempt because they made an outrage in court.
Okay.
Because he calls it a public spectacle.
Yeah.
And she's like, so they're not charged yet? And he goes, not yet. And then she's like, well, according to law, you cannot hold any free man
without charge.
And he's like, well, I can't. And the moment he goes to say something, she's like, I will sue you.
I will bring legal action against you.
There are still laws in this country that will see
you pay for your crimes.
Yeah, that will see men as you pay for your crimes.
It should be noted that Thomas is a lawyer, so
yeah. So he takes the money, and then we cut to outside where we see Tom and Robert walking out, and they're just like, man, prison sucks.
I will say, watching a historical drama is much more entertaining when I don't know all the information that happens in the historical drama. Because when he took the money, I was like, yeah, he's just gonna take the money and then be like,
sucks to be you.
She never paid me. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
There are no witnesses around as they're doing this.
This woman is hysterical. She's obviously mad with the inability to have child.
Wait, so we're gonna put her in the Tower of London, right?
I mean, I don't think they go to the Tower of London, but
you're right. It's still the early 17th century. Give it some time. She'll go there in a few centuries. I think the 18th, in the 1800s to the 19th century.
I 100% thought that's what he was gonna do. Yeah. By the way, his name was Sir Joseph.
So Rob is talking to Tom, and she's like, I can't stand this anymore, man.
Next time we go to prison, we need a petition to get a much better cell.
That is Tom. Tom's joking about it. And Rob's just like, look, man, I can't take this anymore. My name is in disgrace. People talk bad about me. They spit in my general direction. I have no money. I'm in debt. I'm worried about my property and stuff. I don't want to be a prisoner ever again.
Yeah. And then
Anne shows up.
They meet up with Anne Vo.
Mm-hmm.
And Anne's like, he wants to talk to you. Thomas says, look, you can go talk to him. Go to London. I'll be with your son.
I'll let him know you're free.
And I like how she doesn't specify who wants to talk to him, because obviously any of Cecil's
spies
could be around. And obviously she's talking about Father Garnet, wants to see...
Mm-hmm.
God, I hate that his name is Garnet. I keep thinking Crystal Gems.
So do I, but I love it.
I hate it.
I know, because you don't like Steven Universe because you're weird.
No, it's not because I'm weird. It's because the first season's garbage and I can't get through it.
Yeah, I know. Literally, the last episode of the first season is when plot kicks in. Steven Universe had to do this thing that a lot of shows had to do, where they're just like, look, we're a cartoon. Kids love us. And they're like, good, we built up a children fan base. You can't cancel us now, Cartoon Network. Plot and agenda.
I mean, too bad that didn't work for Owl House.
That makes me sad. It just doesn't fit our image right now. What the fuck is your image, Disney?
Their image is not gay witches.
Apparently, that's not the issue.
No, that's completely the issue.
I mean,
it's Disney.
Yeah.
What do you think the issue is?
I mean, supposedly the creator got a lot of support, from the board and stuff when they were doing it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking backpedal on that shit.
Their image is insane witches who create children out of the fabric of nothing, not gay witches.
Yeah. So then we see our Mr. Turner.
If you haven't watched Owl House, go watch Owl House. It's so good.
I've talked about it before.
It's on Disney
It's
Plus.
fantastic. The first season is complete on Disney Plus. We're like halfway through season 2 on Disney Plus. Should hopefully be getting the last half of that season soon. And I believe we have one more. But anyways, so we see Mr. Turner in Flanders, and he's taking this letter to some people, and they're just like, they're looking like,
I'm sorry, he's still a captain. He hasn't lost his rank.
which is weird. But so they're just like, yeah, we don't know this Stanley guy. What are you talking about? We know nothing about what you're talking about.
And he's like, Garnet sent me, and they're like, we don't know Garnet either. What the fuck are you talking
Garnet's
about?
a well-respected Catholic priest. You definitely know him. They're just like, nah, man.
What makes you think we're Catholic?
Yeah, so they send him away, and he's walking around outside, and he's just like, fuck. And so he sends a letter to Cecil, and Cecil gets the letter. His spy master opens it, looks at it, and gives it to Cecil, and Cecil's just like, well, fuck, this isn't the news I wanted.
Yeah.
And then he looks at the spy master, and she's like, give me the original, and then we cut to him in the palace talking to Philip.
And he's like, I just got this correspondence from one of my Espail, and
one of my most trusted.
And it details the plot to essentially murder the king by the Catholic rebels that are in our country.
Yeah. Before he basically blatantly states this, he does talk to Philip, and he's like, oh, you're going hunting again. And Philip's just like, yeah, I love hunting, I love dogs, I love sport. It's all great. There's nothing I love more than those. And then he's just like, not even the king. Philip's like, of course I love the king. And he's like,
nobody loves the king more than I
like,
do.
I've heard, and the king greatly enjoys your company and
basically
everything in your manly.
Yeah, basically Cecil's sitting here
exploits.
Like wink, winking, wink, wink, wink. I know you're gay with the king, wink, wink, wink. Also, this scene is important because every other scene we see Cecil in these 2 episodes, he's like got his neck crooked to the left.
It is like constantly touching his shoulder. His shoulder is like pulled up a bit.
It kind of looks like somebody broke his neck at one point.
He's also wearing a half cape over his left arm at like all points in time.
And it kind of looks like he broke his neck at some point and it never healed back right. But in this one scene, he's got his like neck fully straightened up. And I don't know if this is like Cecil has an affectation that he tries to portray when he's in spy master mode, or if he's no, he even does it when he's like talking to the king in the king's bedroom. I don't know what the fuck is up.
So I think there's 2 possible theories here. That is the thing that was apparently actually wrong with the actual Robert Cecil, and the actor just didn't have that affectation during this scene for some reason. Or the other idea that I have is that it is an affectation to imply a general weakness so people underestimate him, which is why he does it around people he needs to kind of underestimate him, like say the king.
But like, how does that work in this case? Because Philip's already seen him, like, my shoulder is touching my ear.
Because Philip legitimately, in like one line in this scene, proves he's a himbo. He doesn't remember this previous interaction. He's just here to have fun. And fuck the king.
Sir Philip is a himbo. Yeah, 100%. And Philip's like, oh my god, a plot to kill the king. Well, have you told him yet? And Cecil's like, he won't listen to me.
He only listens to his Scottish friends.
But he also listens to you, even though you're not Scottish. And Philip is like, by damn, you're right. I have to go talk to the king. I have to convince him that this threat is real. You've shown me no proof other than a folded up letter. But I believe you.
That is in cipher, because he brought the ciphered letter.
I believe you.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Robert Catesby, and he is meeting up with Garnet in a poor part of London. And it kind of just starts the conversation off with like, man, I have fucking nothing. I have no money. I'm in debt. My house is shit. I don't have any property. Honestly, the only thing I have left is the love of my great cousin.
Honestly, Kit Harington's performance in this show,
it's fantastic.
Just top tier. He does a great job. He's got great lines too. Like in this scene, he's got this awesome line because he's talking to Garnet and he's like, look, we have to do something. We can't just let them kill us and not do anything about it.
I have that line further down, I think, the one you're talking
about.
Oh,
yeah, okay. Go ahead. I'll let you take it then.
So he's complaining about how he's like nothing but like the love of his cousin. And Garnet's just like, you have a son, man. And Robert's just like, you mean the thing that killed the love of my life? He doesn't say it like that, but it's basically that same like vibe. It's just like,
oh no, he says it exactly like that. He's like,
he doesn't say thing. He doesn't refer to his son as thing, but he's like,
yeah, no, he doesn't.
He killed the love of my life.
He doesn't refer to his son as the Orange Rock Man from the Fantastic Four.
I'd be cool with having Ben Grimm as a son. Would you not be cool with having Ben Grimm as a son?
I would be very uncool with having Ben Grimm as my son. Not because of any reason that you're thinking of, but because A, I don't want children, and 2, could you imagine trying to find clothes to fit Ben Grimm? If he's your son, you have to take care of him and get clothes that, like...
He just wears stretchy pants.
No, you didn't say Richard still existed. Richard's made the stretchy pants. I don't have stretchy pants. I'm in real life, Justice.
Buy a tarp, cut a print, sew it together. That's all he gets to wear.
He's going to get made fun of in school all the time.
He's already going to get made fun of. He's a giant rock monster. Also, we've seen him without pants on in the comic. He doesn't have genitals anymore.
This is the weirdest tangent. It's my fault.
So Garnet says, yo, don't blame your son. Like, don't hate like that. And Gatsby replies that all he has left is anger and hate. He has no room for love or anything, especially with what's going on. And Father Garnet's just like, look, man, we have people in the courts, like, try and help us out on our side and everything. And then he's like, how's that gone? Any luck? But no? Who would have guessed? So this is where he starts talking, and he's like, the king hasn't been moved by what we've done yet, but perhaps he'll be moved by tumult.
God,
and Garnet replies...
Such a great word. Tumult.
Yeah. And Garnet tells him not to listen to desperate men who will lead him to tumult.
Yeah. And he's like, but father, I am... It's the clown joke.
His reply is, I am a desperate man. Can you not see?
It's literally but doctor, I am the great
Pagliacini?
Pagliacini, yeah. But doctor, I am the great Pagliacini. It's literally that joke.
Yeah. So from there, we just have a shot of Garnet watching him leave from his window, and then we're following Catsby down the road, and then we go from looking at Catsby's face to where he's looking, and he's just staring at the Parliament building.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to Catsby meeting up with Thomas Wintour and a man named Jack Wright in a pub/inn across from Parliament.
Yes.
And he's like, that building where Parliament's going to be held, where they're going to pass more laws to restrict the Catholic faith.
Where they've done all of their mischievousness against us.
That's where we need a strike.
Yes. Perhaps God put it there for a reason.
And then we cut from this to...
We have King James putting on a leather cuirass, and we see some Parliament members arguing about how Catholics should be handled. Here we have Lord Northumberland being like,
but I have Catholics
working for me, and some, I know some peeps. They're chill, man. They're gonna do whatever, and others are arguing against it. And so King James comes in, and he's just like, we should suppress them even more. There are evildoers amongst us, and we must do what we can to stop their plans.
Look, they're trying to kill me. We have to stop them.
And then Lord Northumberland's like, Spain won't like that. To which one of the other council members says, this is England. Our laws are not to do with Spain.
Mm-hmm. Which is exactly the type of thing that Cecil loves to hear. But while they're arguing about whether or not they should crack down on Catholics, in Flanders, Catholics are arguing about whether or not they should stick a knife into Captain Turner. Oh, they're not arguing. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy from before grabs Captain Turner when he's like buying candles and leads him down an alley, and Captain Turner's like, cool, I'm going to meet Stanley.
And then instead he meets a bald man with a bushy beard and a mustache. And he's like, you're not Stanley. And the guy's like, no, I'm not. What do you know about Stanley? He's like, I just want to join the cause. And the guy's like, what cause? What cause do you know of?
And then stabs him.
Yeah, and this is our introduction to Guy Fawkes. Yep. The only famous one from this plot.
Yes, and that is the end of episode 1.
That is the end of episode 1.
What are your thoughts on episode 1?
I love the pacing.
Pacing is great in the show.
The show feels very fluid. It doesn't feel like I'm jumping from one spot to another unnecessarily.
And when they do shortcuts, it's to add tension, and it's done well.
And they don't really do a lot of shortcuts. The shortest cuts are like
here at the end, because we technically see King James, and then we see the inn, and then we see him talking, being led to the alley, and briefly talking to Fox, and then we're back in the inn where they're talking about striking Parliament, and then we're back to the alley where he gets stabbed.
Where he stabs and then whispers his name, Guy Fawkes, into the man's ear.
So there's a few shortcuts there, but they're done well because they're adding tension, because we have this secret meeting, we have this government meeting where we're talking about the future of this country. Additionally, and then we have this secret meeting in an alley with a spy.
Additionally, Kit Harington is the only actor's name I know from this show, but all of the acting in this show is just very well done and very well delivered.
I know Anne Vo, it's Liv Taylor.
And
that's the only other one I know.
Aunt Dorothy's line deliveries are just fucking amazing. Like, she sells it. God, she's
very true.
She's great for the 15 minutes she's on screen.
Also,
actually, not even 15 minutes. She's probably on screen for a total of 4 minutes.
Also, I love the line deliveries from both Wade Williams and Robert Cecil's actors. Like, their line deliveries are fantastic.
Yep, the show's very good. Justice, what do you think? You want to watch episode 2? I want to watch episode 2.
I do want to watch episode 2. It feels like it's been a while since I've said I wanted to watch the next episode of what we were reviewing.
Yep. So
I think I said I wanted to watch the next episode of Surreal Estate. But not like I wasn't excited. I legitimately really wanted to watch episode 2 of this.
Yeah. So we start with episode 2, and it opens with a recap.
Previously on.
And then we have Tom and Robin meeting with the Constable of Castile.
So if you want the previously on, go back to where we just ended, listen to it all up again to here, and then just don't repeat that.
Or actually keep repeating that.
Repeat ad infinitum.
Yeah, until your director tells you to move on.
Yeah, for this episode, you do need someone sitting there before you, telling you when you're going to repeat, and then showing you when we're going to finish and continue on. If you do not, I suggest now you pause the player, go find someone to do this for you. do make them aware they're going to be here for roughly 40-ish minutes to an hour. I'm not sure how long we've been recording up to this point or how long it's going to be after editing. Do inform them of that time. We don't want to involve anyone too long if they're a bit busy, but you will need them to continue this episode.
Make sure they have a directing baton so that they can direct you in when to crescendo and decrescendo properly, as well as to remind you when you need to loop back to the beginning.
Yes. And of course, when to direct your obviously rather rambunctious reactions to what we've said so far. That way you can forte at the right times, and when you should quiet down to understand the suspense of what's going on. You really need to hit those pianissimos and fortissimos there. It really adds a whole range to the listening experience.
This has been a deep cut band joke. I don't think we've ever done one of these. Okay. So Thomas and Robin are meeting with the Constable of Castile.
In Spain.
They're pleading for the support of the Spanish church in Spain to help them with, being persecuted and murdered.
Yeah, so the constable's just like, well, what is it that you want me to help with? What do you intend to do? And Catsby's just like, oh, I'm going to kill the king and all the fucking nobles.
Oh, I'm going to take all the important people in England.
And murder them.
Put them in one building and murder them.
So the constable's just like, well, what do you need from us? Men, weaponry, horses.
Basically, after I murder them, we're going to need, somebody to impose authority. So if you could just sweep in with an army, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and the constable's like, well, kings are appointed by God. And Tom's reply is, no. King James, he's a fake and a tyrant.
And then the constable's assistant is like, it is only God's duty to remove or place kings. And then Robin's like, but what if, and hear me out, God is using us to remove the king?
Yeah.
Eh?
And the constable's just like, look, man, there's this treaty between England and Spain. It's going to end all of that. But I'll think upon it. And then Catsby's just like, look, if you've seen the shit I seen, you wouldn't weep in sorrow or lament. You would draw your sword and you would fight back. And then they're kind of just ushered away.
Yep. While this is going on, Wade goes to Cecil because he has heard news that Catsby, Thomas Wintour, and Jack Wright were seen together. Mm-hmm. Which I guess it's just Robin Catsby is on the Secretary of State's top 10 potential terrorists list.
If there was a do not fly list, Robert Catsby would be on it.
Yeah, he's otherwise, why is this significant? You're like, oh hey, Robert Catsby met with his brother-in-law and a former mercenary.
Yeah.
Why is this suspicious?
So we do know, of course, that from the beginning of this, though, that Cecil has something against Catsby because he wanted to know that Cecil got him from the very beginning of the episode 1. And just a background thing that isn't mentioned in the show at all. Jack Wright was apparently, kind of treasonous before this.
Yeah, he was part of a rebellion before this. That rebellion didn't go so well, but him and his brother were both part of it, and they both got away without getting, hung for treason.
Yeah.
Or quartered for treason, or drawn for treason.
Or crushed for treason, or beheaded for treason.
Yeah, they got away without dying, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So Cecil asks where all three of them are, and Wade replies, well, Jack Wright went to Yorkshire, and no one knows where Robert or Tom have gone. And Cecil's just like, okay, well, I want people watching the ports. I want people just looking out for them. When they find them, make sure they're followed, and let me know everything.
And then we cut to Robin Catsby's home. Mm-hmm. Where his cousin, Anna Vo, is tutoring his child, Robert.
In Latin.
And at this point, Cecil literally forces his way in.
Yes.
He's not shown in by any, servants or, knocks or anything. He just storms into the building.
He and his own servant come in, and, the first thing he does is mock the barren house.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's like, hey, look at this, Robert. Your father's gonna leave you so much.
Yeah.
Aren't you proud to inherit this?
So Robin's mother's just like, get the fuck out of my house. And he kind of just sizes her up. And then Anvo just kind of steps between them. And Robin's mother leaves.
Yep. So then Cecil and Anna have a talk, which turns into more Cecil interrogating Anna about the location of her cousin.
They're sitting down by a window, drinking wine, talking, while Robert, the young Robert, is playing tin pin, I think is the correct name for the, precursor to bowling.
Bowling doesn't exist yet.
So he's playing tin pin along with Cecil's servant.
Yep. And then Cecil finishes his glass of wine, and Anna hasn't been responsive to his interrogation attempts. And he's like,
I mean, she's been responsive, just not positively responsive. She's denigrated his job position and his overall aspect in life.
Yeah, and called him a dark individual and a corrupt person.
Effectively just a monster.
And basically said, hey, fuck you, get out of my house. I'm not telling you anything. And he's like, you know what? This wine was really good. I'd really appreciate another glass.
So she gets up to go get more. And the moment she leaves the room, he turns to his servants just like, go get ready my horse. Yes.
No, go get the horses ready.
Yes. So he's left alone with the young Robert Catesby.
And he's like, when is your dad getting back from
Brussels.
Flanders and Brussels? And Robert's like, my dad's not in Brussels, dude.
And Cecil's like, I know he's in Brussels. When is he getting back?
He's like, no, my dad's in Spain, bruh.
And then we cut to them outside in their horses, taking off in a bit of a hurry. For some reason, I don't know why.
Weird, right? But anyways, back in Spain, Thomas and Robin are summoned by the Duke. We didn't mention it earlier because we didn't know earlier, but the
person they were meeting with is Duke Don Juan Fernandez de Velasco, Constable of Castile.
Yeah, all of that, what he said. And they're summoned by the Duke to watch the execution of two non-Catholic, heretics. I mean, Jew.
Yeah, they're burning two Jewish people at stakes. Because, as the Duke's assistant puts it, this is what Spain is willing to do to protect the faith here in Spain.
Imagine what they're willing to do to protect the faith in England.
Yes.
And that's essentially the scene. Robert and Thomas kind of like leave after a few minutes. They're like, well, we didn't come here to watch people die.
Well, directly after that, while he says, imagine what we would do to protect the faith in Spain, he says that Spain can't support their plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that he states, well, we'd rather have a Protestant king we can negotiate with than a king that we can't.
Yep.
So Catesby and Tom leave.
And when they leave, they go around the corner, essentially, and they have a private conversation. And Robin's like, we were wrong to even seek out the aid of foreign princes. They were never going to help us. We have to rouse our countrymen. This is an English problem, and it needs to be settled by English men.
Yes. So then we see Sir William Wade walking down the hallway, and he walks into like a nice little room for the Secretary of State.
It's like the Spymaster headquarters.
Yes, and he delivers a letter to Cecil. A letter from Don Juan Fernandez de Velasco, Constable of Castile.
Going to Charles de Ligne.
Who is currently in London.
Mm-hmm. And is, I guess, the Spanish representative for the treaties at this point?
So the spies have intercepted this letter, and Cecil wants his spymaster assistant to break the cipher.
Yep. I will say, it's really weird that Wade is the only one that ever delivers him anything.
Right.
Like, Wade's always like, I have this. It's never like anybody else coming in and being like, sir.
I think he's just standing at the door and bitch slaps anyone who tries to get in there. He's like, no, I'm earning all these fucking brownie points. I have something for you.
A low-level Espale comes up, and he's like, I have this letter for Cecil. And
Is it good news?
And Wade's like,
absolutely, it's good news. Smack mine. And then whenever it's bad news, he's just like, so is it bad? It's not great. Go ahead, go on in.
He's like, so is it good news? Unfortunately not, sir. And Wade's like,
that sucks for you, man. Like,
here's the door. Go ahead in.
You and me, pint after work?
Yeah.
Commiserate over how horrible your day has been?
So then Thomas and Robin head to Brussels from Spain.
Mm-hmm. To meet with Stanley, because Englishmen need to solve Englishman problems.
Yes. And
they're also led into the exact same alley that Captain Turner was stabbed in. And again, at the end of the alley is Guy Fawkes.
Yep. And Kit Catesby is like, no, I said I'm only going to talk to Stanley.
That's not Stanley. Where the fuck is Stanley?
And then Stanley appears behind him, and he's like, you look just like your father. Ma ha 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 ha.
I see so much of your father in you.
And so they go off to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, also, the guy that Cecil gives the letter to decrypt is named Master Alford.
I just called him my Master Beep. I even noted to Josh out loud that I knew his name, but I didn't give enough fucks.
So Stanley and Robin go to speak in private. Mm-hmm. About this idea that Robin has to
end the oppression of Catholics.
And Robin's like, yeah, so this is my plan. We're going to blow up Parliament with Parliament all in there and with the king and all of his important people. We're just going to blow it up.
And Stanley's like, that's cool. Do you trust Tom? And Robert's like, yeah, with my life. Cool. You are going to need more men, though. First off, that guy outside, fucking great with explosives.
Guy Fawkes? Yeah.
He knows building, architecture, and explosives.
That dude, he's your dude.
And Robert's just like, I'm not so sure. He doesn't talk much. That's one of the great things about him.
If he gets caught, he's not going to talk.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, because he does get caught eventually.
And he does tell them about the co-conspirators. That is history for you.
So essentially what you're saying is Stanley is the one that ruined the gunpowder plot.
Yes.
He was like...
He misled them about the quality of one of the people they hired.
He was like, look, this dude's never going to betray you. This dude betrays you.
Yeah. So they just talk about getting more people, basically. And Stanley tells Robert that, okay, this is all cool, but you're going to need to do this very, very fast because there are so many spies and we only have a certain amount of time. Basically, get this done as fast as possible.
Yes. So we then cut to the king with...
Well, we cut to Alford.
Oh, yeah.
He deciphered the code. Cecil is happy that it's been finished. And then we go to Parliament because technically I think we're following Cecil there in storyline method.
It's not Parliament. This is just...
It's not Parliament building. It's a meeting of like the the council of people.
Yeah, it's not that meeting of Parliament. It's a meeting of the king and his peers.
Yeah,
his closest people,
his associates, his
secretaries of
aide
state.
de
Like,
camps.
yeah. And Cecil's like, hey, look, I got this. Well, he doesn't actually tell the king anything. He says,
At first, we have Lord Northumberland who's being like, look, if we tighten laws like you're talking about we need to do, it's only going to cause problems. In Spain, we're going to have so many fucking problems. And the other ones are arguing like...
And then Cecil interrupts me. He's like, look, I have very good information. We can push these laws through. Spain would rather have peace than worry about the Catholics here.
Well, actually, Cecil doesn't cut in until after the king cuts off a guy who's basically saying Spain won't care. The king cuts in and he's like, look, what we need is peace. We don't have a lot of money left.
Yeah, the treasury, both our treasury and Spain's treasuries are running dry. This war has to end.
Yeah, and then Cecil cuts in and he says God demands true religion, and that while Spain may not be happy, they will sign out of self-interest in commerce rather than any interest in the English papists. And then the king's like, cool story, bro. Bet I'll do it.
I'm going to take your word, and if you're wrong, I'm going to be very, very angry with you.
Yeah, so then we cut to a man we haven't seen in a bit, Father John Gerard.
And Father Garnet.
And Father John Gerard is reading out a proclamation that the king had that's basically just like, fuck Catholics, I'm gonna start murdering them.
Fuck Catholics. When Parliament meets, we're gonna just make it illegal to be a Catholic in England.
You will be a capital enemy to the crown.
Yeah, all Catholics will be capital enemies, punishable by death if they're in England.
Yeah, and Garnet's reply is basically they're just like, that sucks, you know what we can do to fight it though? Wait and pray.
And Gerard's like, you're a stupid fucking coward, ain't you?
You're trapped in here with everything you need to survive. You have wine, you have good food, you want for nothing, while people outside are dying. I see it. I am out there. You're in here, safe, hidden away.
And basically, Father Gerard's like, look, you're a coward. Robin Catesby is right. I'm going to go join him and his boys.
Yeah. So he leaves, and then Anne proceeds to tell Father Garnet that he isn't a coward, and that while he hides, he does this to survive as a flame that others can gather around to keep the faith alive.
Because without him, the faith will die, which I don't think... If that is how it works, I'm really sad nobody killed him sooner.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying Catholicism's bad, but...
So he's like, I wish I was as steadfast as you. And she's like, I'm not steadfast. He's like, yes, you are. And she's like, I'm only steadfast sometimes. Other times I'm not. I have the heart of a woman, basically. And this entire scene is just like, was Sir Wade right? Does she fuck the priest?
I kept being like, so this is an HBO show. I was wondering when we'd get to the fucking.
Right? Like, it very much feels like that.
That's it. Oh. No fucking.
Yeah, no, we go back to King James.
We go to Don Juan Fernandez de Velasco and King James having a meeting to discuss the treaty.
Yeah.
And Fernandez is like, look, these new laws that you plan on implementing, this proclamation you made,
it doesn't make the Spanish king happy. He's very upset with it.
You have 5 days to retract it, or I'm heading back to Spain, and your treaty is dead.
Yeah. Like, at first when he mentions it, King James is like, it's none of Spain's business. And then Castillo's like, may not be my business, but I'm gone in 5 days if those laws aren't gone.
Yeah, King James is specifically like, I don't know why our good and righteous laws have anything to do with foreign nationals. And Fernandez is like, you're right, they don't. But if you don't go back on that, I'm gone in 5 days, and that's the end of the treaty discussions.
Yeah. So now we're back with Robin Catesby, and he's in a private room in the bar that they're constantly in. And he is introducing himself to people and affirming his faith in God and the Catholic Church and his willingness to die.
Essentially, this is the scene where we get an introduction to the majority of the plot conspirators, and they're all swearing their allegiance to the plot and to each other.
So here we get reintroduced, I guess, to Tom Wintour, Jack Wright, and we meet for the first time Thomas Percy. And then after all those guys are introduced, we're led to the last man who needs to swear his oath, and it is Guy Fawkes, but he introduces himself as John Johnson, as he has used many names, and this is his most recent one.
Yes.
And when he's asked to swear, he's like, I've sworn to God many times. He knows now what I am willing to do.
And Catesby's just like, look, I don't care if you've sworn to God.
I need to hear it.
I need to hear it. We're all in this together. And then John Johnson turns to Catesby and he's like, fine, I swear the same thing you did for the same reasons you did. Is that good enough?
And then Catesby turns to the door, and at first I thought he was leaving, but he opens the door, and in walks Father Gerard.
And he's like, you'll all know Father Gerard. He is a pivotal member of the faith in England. He is here to assist us.
So he lays a Bible on the table. They all put their Bibles on it and say a blessing to Jesus.
He lays a Bible on the table, and they all put their Bibles on it.
He puts a Bible on the table, and they all put their hands on it, and they say a blessing to Jesus.
Yes. Then We have another meeting of King James and his inner circle, his aide-de-camps and his secretaries. And the king is like, look, Cecil, you promised me that I could have my cake and eat it too. We're going to have my cake and eat it too. We're going to get both this treaty with Spain and we're going to push these laws through to kill all the Catholics.
If we don't, you're not going to have a job anymore. I won't need you.
Yep. And that's the end of that scene, essentially.
Yeah. So then we see Cecil talking with Wade, and he's complaining that the Constable de Castile bested him.
Well, I was really confused by this scene because they don't say Constable Castiel for like the entire scene. He's like, Wade, could you get me a meeting with the constable?
Yeah.
And Wade's like, it would put me in a really awkward position if I was seen doing this. And
I think that's just because you didn't. I guess you probably glanced over the fact that the first thing they're doing is talking about the letter.
Okay.
And when they're talking about it, because he explains to Wade that he's in a bad position with the king right now.
Yes,
like,
I remember
how?
this.
And he's like, oh, I was tricked. He did this to get it over on me.
Yes, I got that.
So.
But then, like, they jumped to talking about a constable, and I was like,
yeah.
I forgot he was, because, like, he's now been introduced as a duke, and I forgot, like, and they're
he
just
was
calling
also
him a
Constable of Castile, and he's the one that sent the letter, so.
And they're just calling him constable, and I'm like,
yeah.
Why are we getting the police involved, and why can't you talk to the police?
Yeah, so he has Wade arrange a meeting with the constable. And
yeah,
Wade apparently
basically I was stupid.
Yeah. And so Wade apparently successfully does that because our next scene is him meeting with him.
And he essentially is like, look,
we need to keep those laws.
We have to keep those laws.
And the constable's like, nah, man.
And then Cecil's like, look, I have an offer that you're not going to be able to refuse.
I guarantee that you'll have open waters in England. Well, yeah, that was already going to be a thing, like trade. No. Entirely open waters, like warships in English harbors.
He's not just open waters. He's like, look, in addition
to everything else in the treaty.
Yeah, in addition to everything else.
Besides the laws.
We'll give you access to our port cities so that your ships can refuel, refix their cells, restock supplies. And the Duke is like, for our merchantmen. And Cecil goes, warships too.
And the constable's just like, we've asked that many times and all been denied. He's like, how can you assure us? And Cecil's just like, well, I may not be in great standing with the king right now, but if you gave me something good, I could definitely get this done.
And he's like, what do we need to give you for this? And and Cecil goes,
substantial.
I need you to denounce the Catholics of England. Say that you're no longer the protector of them, that they are none of your business. Denounce them. And that's kind of where the scene ends. The Duke doesn't really agree to this yet.
Yeah.
But that's the trade that's up in the air.
So we cut to Robin Catsby. He's sitting by a river with a locket of his wife, just kind of like, man, I miss my wife. And then Tom shows up.
He's doing the thing that Kit Harington is very good at doing, being that emo boy.
Yeah, he's doing birdie stuff.
Yeah.
And then Tom shows up with a man named Digby.
Sir Everett Digby.
And he is willing to help them. Digby has 50 minutes at his disposal. Tom has 30. And another one of their contacts has 20 minutes.
They go through a bunch of names here.
Yeah, they have several guys and they have a bunch of men.
So as they're talking about the men, Digby specifically mentions that Robert Winter, Thomas's brother, has another 30 for them.
Yes.
And that Robert Keyes, John Grant, and Ambrose Rookwood also all have 20 men each. And so do John and Christopher Wright.
Yes.
No, wait, not John and Christopher Wright. Yeah, that was right the first time. It's just Ambrose Rookwood, John Grant, and Robert Keyes each have 20 more men.
So then Digby asks what the plan is. And Catsby's just like, so we're going to overthrow the king and all the nobles. And then we're going to put the king's daughter on the throne and have Lord Northumberland act as Lord Protector. And Digby's like, we have Lord Northumberland on our side. And Tom is like, Percy is his kin, and he assures us that once we strike, Lord Northumberland will pick up his sword.
And it makes sense based on what we've seen of Northumberland. Like, it feels like he would step in because he's against these crackdowns on the Catholic.
He is our pro-papist man in the king's court.
Yep.
And then we learn that this plan should be enacted by Tuesday next, which means we have a maximum of a week because it is now Tuesday, and Tuesday next would be next week.
Which also means these two episodes have covered 2 years of time.
Yeah.
Because the first part of the first episode, when Wade takes Dorothy and Father Daniel Smith, is in 1603, but the plot to bomb Parliament is 1605.
But it does make sense when you take into fact that they went to Spain and came back from Spain.
Yeah.
They went to Flanders and came back from Flanders.
I just, there's not a lot of cuts to show us what year or what time it is. So it's right. It definitely feels right because of when you start thinking about the journeys.
It just feels very fast because we don't sit there for the journey every fucking time, which is fine by me.
Yeah, 100%.
So from there, we see Catsby at his home and he walks into a room, watches his son sleep. And then he steps into the room and awakes his son and asks him who told him he could sleep in this bed.
Who the fuck said you could sleep in this bed?
And he's just like, Grandma. And he's like, what the fuck? She had no right to do that. That's the bed that my wife died in, that your mother died in when she was giving birth to you. And his son's just like, I'm sorry. I think...
his son isn't it just isn't I'm sorry. He's like, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I never meant any harm. Forgive me.
I think Catesby, like, goes
Breaks
to his
down.
knees, and he's like, look, I'm sorry. I'm a shitty dad. I've been really fucking horrible. I just want you to know that everything I've done is to, like, make sure you're happy and you're safe, and I want you to keep that in mind in the coming days. And his son's just like, I forgive you. And that's basically into that scene. And then Catesby leaves home.
Yeah, the next
morning.
scene, Catesby leaves home in the
It's
morning.
a long, extended, like, a minute and a half, him leaving home. That's it. Nothing happens. He just leaves home.
And then we cut to Philip and King James, and they're discussing the gathering of Parliament. There's not really a lot to the scene, but the scene is used to set up the next scene, which is a pan down through the ground.
Yeah. In that scene, James is establishing that all of the Parliament members will be there, many nobles will be there, and he'll show them all what it's like for a king to rule.
Also, this is the most blatant scene of suggesting that King James and Philip are a homosexual pairing, because the end of the scene before he pan down into the ground is King James pulling Philip onto his lap.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath them, though, John Johnson and Tom Percy are negotiating to rent the space under the Parliament building for storage purposes.
Negotiating is a very strong term.
They strong-arm this woman, and Tom Percy's like, look.
She's like, look, my brother-in-law has a very successful clothing. He needs to get into space. And Percy's like, here's this money. Here's the inconvenience tax.
And then he's like, look, Northumberland needs this, and are you going to tell me that a member of the royal peerage is less important than your brother-in-law? Yeah. And she's like, thanks for the money.
Yeah.
So then we go back to that bar/inn that we keep going to when the plotters are plotting.
So, like, 4 people conspicuously walk upstairs, and we see a guy drinking downstairs. Take note of it.
Look, I don't want to say, like, obviously this is a TV show, but obviously this is a TV show because they're all wearing, like, dark cloaks and
hats
dark
down
hats
over their faces.
And hats pulled down over their face.
And they're walking in a group, despite the fact that they're trying to be conspicuous and not draw attention.
Yeah. But so the one guy recognizes Catesby and Tom and John Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Wright.
And he goes to tell Cecil and Wade.
Yes. And he gets there and he's like, look, I just saw Catesby, Wright, and Wintour. They're at this bar. They just went upstairs. Room. They're still there. And Cecil's like, oh, they're still there? We need to go. And this guy's getting pulled off by guards. And he's like, I was told I would be paid. And Cecil looks at him and goes, pay him half rate. And then they just storm off.
Yeah. So then we cut to our plotty peeps talking about their plot.
Which involves a bunch of gunpowder being put underneath the Parliament.
Mm-hmm. Catesby's like, we need 3-something kegs.
300
kilograms of powder. And then Fox is like, 400 just to be safe.
Yeah, just to make sure we blow the entire lid off the entire thing.
So then they talk about how long it's take them to get into places.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all telling Percy he needs to talk to the merchants. And then we see our Inquisitor peeps show up outside.
They also talk about whether or not Lord Northumberland will actually support them or not. Because there's a bit of debate about this, but Percy's like, look, there's no debate. We're kin. It's going to happen. He's family. He supports, if not directly supports Catholicism, is an actual supporter of it as far as, like, peerage goes.
Yeah. So Wade and his men show up, and they go inside the bar just as Tom, Catesby, and Fox end up downstairs after having the father, Jared, sit at a table by himself, just, like, chilling for the night.
Yep.
So Wade and his men draw their weapons, and Fox is sitting down on a bench pretending to not know the other two, and acts a bit drunkenly. So the moment they pull their swords and approach on Winter and Catesby, he stabs a man in the gut.
No. He doesn't stab a guy in the gut till Wade says, get them.
And then he stabs a man in the gut.
Yeah, and then he immediately just murders a man.
Yeah.
Like I said, Fox's entire solution to problems is, does my knife reach far enough into their body?
Yeah. So they tell Father Jared to run, and then while Fox is fighting off Wade's men, he tells Tom and Catesby to run.
Catesby gets hurt here.
Yes.
He's in a brief bit of a sword duel with Wade and gets cut in the stomach.
So Fox tells Tom to take him and go.
And then Fox murders another man.
And then busts Wade's face open and bells while his men help him because he stumbles backwards.
Yes.
So then we see Father Jared running through the streets, trying to avoid people, but, well, it's a show. So, of course, he eventually gets caught.
Yep.
And he's just like, I don't fear you. And Sir William Wade's just like, you'll learn to.
Yep. So he captures Gerard, and
then we cut to Father Garnet, and reading.
And there's 2 people stumbling around outside yelling.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, Anne thinks they're strangers that may have found them.
So she goes to hide Father Garnet.
But instead, she realizes one of them is calling her name and that it's Catesby.
Well, not calling her name, just yelling cousin.
Yeah, sorry. So Winter and Catesby shelter at Garnet's place while Wade and his men are still in the streets looking for people.
And Garnet reproaches Catesby for his actions and for his violence.
And who patches Catesby up here?
Anne does.
So Anne patches Catsby up, and then Catsby and Garnet have a discussion where Robin's like, look, you need to help us. You need to join us on this.
And Garnet's just like, I won't. You can't make me to. Don't tell me any more about this.
And then Robin's like, Father, I want to confess.
And at first...
Father, I have sinned. I wish to confess.
And Garnet at first doesn't want to do anything. He's like, you wouldn't deny me my right.
And so he uses confession
to tell him about his plot to kill the king and overthrow Parliament.
Which is just wonderful. A wonderful abuse of the religious system.
So as he's doing that, eventually Garnet erupts and just says, like, enough, stop talking. Do you hate me so much you would damn me this way?
And Robin's like, no.
I respect you. I love you.
I love you so much that I want you to be on the right side of this.
And Garnet again refuses. And at that time, Anne starts to walk back over towards them because she was on like the other side of the room.
And Garnet yells for her to get out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then as Robin leaves, Anne decides to berate him too. She's like, you're going to get him and me killed. You can't keep doing this.
You're a selfish child.
And you're just playing straight into Cecil's hands.
Mm-hmm. So then he and Tom leave. And then it's Anne talking with Garnet again. And he's just like, one day Rob is going to bring a storm down upon all of us. And I'm not sure I'll be able to endure it like Father Smith did.
Basically, this is earlier Father Garnet admitted that he was a coward and that he was hiding away from all the troubles. And this is him admitting not only is he a coward, but he's a coward that doesn't have the moral fortitude that the lessers of his
faith do.
Which is hilarious to me.
And she's like, no, you'll survive it. And anyways, it won't even come to that. And he's like, no, it's coming to that. And I won't endure it.
Outside, Robin and Thomas run into Jack Wright, and he goes, hey guys, Father Gerard was apprehended and taken to the Tower of London.
Yes. So then we cut to seeing Father Jared being waterboarded.
Specifically, he just says the tower.
Yes.
They're in London, so what other tower?
He's being waterboarded, and then he's being stretched.
Yep.
And Wade tells him he's gonna break and he'll talk. And so Father Jared's response is to just start praying in Latin. And William Wade's just like, that's not gonna help.
So, and the only thing he's interrogating about is the whereabouts of Catsby. Which, again, wild that this is, like, all you want to know. Not, like, why were Catsby, Wright, and Thomas meeting? What are they planning? What's going on?
We know you were at the bar. Like, what the fuck, man? No, he's just like, where's Catsby?
Who is the fourth dude that murdered two of my guys?
Yeah. He's like, if you tell me where Robin Catsby is, I will set you free. And Father Gerard's response is that he lives in God's grace and love, and thus he is already a free man. So he continues to be stretched. We hear a nice pop and a sickening crack.
And he passes out from the pain.
Yeah, so Wade slaps him a few times, tries to shake him awake. We get a groan, but nothing. And then we see that this entire time, Cecil has been watching, which feels right. He feels like the type of guy to just watch.
Yeah, he kind of feels like a Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah. So he asks when they'll be able to question Father Jared again, and Wade tells him 2 to 3 hours, and Cecil says, make it 2, and then leaves.
So Catsby and Fox are in this bar, and they end up sitting next to these two people.
And I love it, because at first we're just focusing on these two people. I'm like, I don't think we've seen these.
Yeah.
And then they sit down, and the guy looks at me and is just like, do I know you?
And Robin's like, no, but we're going to have a conversation.
And pulls a knife on the guy.
Yep. So Robin takes the guy that he was sitting next to and leads him out of the bar. Well, Fox is blocking the guy that he was sitting next to into this corner booth.
And just commands him to eat.
Yep. So at knife point, Catsby takes this guard and leads him back to the tower and forces him to guide him through to find Father Gerard.
Gets in no problem. We cut back to Guy. Just tells the guy to eat again.
Because the guy's like stopped eating.
Mm-hmm. So then we go back to Robert, and Robin gets to the father, and when he gets to the father, we then go back to Guy now.
Well, he gets to the father, he smacks the guard with a knife, takes his keys, he's like, can you walk? Picks the father up on his shoulder, like one arm over his shoulder, and they kind of hobble out together.
And then we cut back to Guy, who has just stabbed the man.
Apparently he wasn't eating.
Yeah, and then we cut back. Literally, it's this brief moment, which didn't feel necessary, but I found extremely amusing.
Again, Fox's entire persona in the show is just, I have a problem. I wonder if my knife can fix it.
Yeah. So Robin and the father head out and they go upstairs and say they need to get to the river. So I'm assuming they need to jump in the river because they went up several stairs to get there and they're going up some more. So I assume they're jumping into the river. And then we see some people sitting at the river in a boat, and it's Tom Winter and Jack Wright.
Yep.
And then we cut back to William Wade, who is coming back in, and he wants the priest. The priest is gone, so alarms go up.
Well, about the same time that they realize that the father is gone, the door to the roof, Catsby has a key and he's trying to open it, but the key breaks, so they have to start improvising.
And the place mobilizes.
Also,
and
Catsby gets in a brief knife fight with the man.
Yeah, right after they mobilize. A guy comes around the corner, and Robin stabs him with a sword he's drawn.
Yep, murders the dude. And they end up managing to escape through a sewage way filled with shit.
Yeah. This is another scene where they're cutting back and forth between William Wade's perspective and Robin's perspective.
Yeah,
but it's really, really well done.
breakout scene. Like,
yes, because
it's a jailbreak.
It's meant to gather suspension and tension and do it well, and it does, and it's really well done.
It's really weird.
You can do smash cuts really well.
It's really weird how sometimes, if you do it with, like, style and intent, a smash cut has, like, a lot of effect in the storytelling, but other times when you just use it to transition from a scene to a scene, from character to character, for no reason.
For brief periods of time.
It just bogs it all down and feels bad.
Yeah. So Robin and the father get out and they make it to the boat, and the boat peeps manage to get under a bridge just in time for Wade and his men to come outside and not see anyone on the water.
Yep, so they end up making their escape, and that's the end of episode 2.
So what are your thoughts overall on Gunpowder?
It's a good show. It's a very good show. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil the kind of reveal here. Gunpowder only has 3 episodes.
That's right, guys.
So
boom.
If you liked what you've heard about the show so far, go watch the 3 episodes. It's 3 hours of your life. It's, I think, shorter than Endgame, so...
Yeah, like, do it. It's fucking great.
I know I'm going to watch the 3rd episode because I've already spent the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, we'll probably be watching it after this episode goes up.
So, yeah, the show's great. I love Kit Harington. I've only seen him in Game of Thrones and this, and maybe one other thing.
I think I've seen him in something else, but nothing I can remember off the top of my head.
And he always impresses me with how well he delivers. In fact, I spent most of the first... We watched the first episode twice.
Yes.
And the second time through, I spent most of that just, like, thinking, man, Kit Harington could just do all the roles Orlando Bloom did, and I'd be happy with it. Like, Kit Harington could just be the modern Orlando Bloom. And, like, if they redid Lord of the Rings, yeah, I'd buy him as Legolas.
I think I like him better as Aragorn, but
yeah,
he could be a decent Legolas.
If they wanted to do Pirates of the Caribbean and reboot that from the start as a Will Turner, 100% on board for that.
If they wanted to play a Musketeer, definitely.
Yeah, like, he could just redo all of Orlando Bloom's career, and I'd be perfectly fine.
Understandable.
Yeah, but also, the show's very good. I enjoy it a lot. I like period dramas. I like historical dramas as well. And the show's interesting because I have, like, a base knowledge of the Gunpowder treason, and, like, more than just Guy Fawkes fucked up. Like, I have a little bit deeper than that knowledge, but, like, a lot of the names I didn't know before going into the show. I knew Winter, and I knew Catsby.
I knew Winter, Catsby, and Wright. Only ones I knew.
And Percy.
Winter, Catsby, and Percy off the top of my head.
Like, those were the ones I was aware of, and I've had, like, this base, like, knowledge of the Gunpowder plot, mainly because of V for Vendetta, right? Like, I saw V for Vendetta.
Read V
Anonymous
for Vendetta.
Anonymous was a thing.
Anonymous was a thing, so it was just like, well, who the fuck is Guy Fawkes? And thus research began.
Yeah. So, yeah, I enjoyed this show very much, though.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed it. Like, I think the pacing throughout the show is fantastically done. This show knows when to do a cut, and it does it appropriately. Like, no scene feels like it drags on too long, and the scenes that are longer, where we don't get shit or anything happening, still feels appropriate in the scene and in the context.
It still feels amazing that I was able to watch episode 1 and not feel like I needed notes. I did get a couple scenes out of order, like, in my memory.
But we do that even when we have notes.
Yeah, so, like, amazing. The show is told in such a manner that you don't have to feel like you have to try to remember anything because it's not spoon-fed, but, like, it's very well presented.
Linear and well presented.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
One of my favorite things, though, is that one man broke into the Tower of London by holding another at knife point.
Yes, because even in 1605, it wasn't worth your life for a shitty job.
Yeah, who would have guessed? Weird, right? But anyways, guys, this has been our review of Gunpowder, and I think the general consensus between both of us is watch it.
If you live in England, happy Guy Fawkes Day, happy Bonfire Night.
It's a bit early, but celebrate it. Have fun.
A couple days early, but yeah, celebrate, have fun, burn effigies of politicians you hate, because that's apparently what you guys do now.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Guy Fawkes is no longer, like, these guys were vilified. That's what the holiday was about. It was about these guys who failed.
Yeah.
But now, like, in 2002, Guy Fawkes was, like, listed as one of the top 30 folk heroes of all of British history. They're like, yeah, this dude, almost on par with Robin Hood.
Yeah. But, you know, we don't necessarily know everything about it. Obviously, we don't. We're not British. And also, we haven't done the fact-checking of it or looked into it a lot. But you know what you can do to let us know if we're wrong? Or just you want to tell us about it? Or tell us how you celebrate it?
Tweet us.
You can tweet us at Copilots Review.
You can email us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
you can go to copilotsreview.simplecast.com, where you find a link to our Gmail, our Twitter, our YouTube, and our Discord. And on our Discord, you can talk to us there about it as well.
Yeah, in Discord, you have a chance of having real-time interactions with us discussing the show and how we were very wrong about the English history and how apparently Guy Fawkes Day is still vilifying them, maybe. I'm not for sure. I only know what I read on Google, people.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you for flying with us, and please fly again soon.